Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is so very special. Beaute Bar just launched or is about to launch their dark dream space palette, and this is a beautiful pinky, purpley, bluey color story. If you are into this color story, I'm very excited for you. I personally wanted to dupe out this palette with the existing shades that I already have in my collection. I'm not saying to go and buy out every palette that I am duping out this with, then you're better off just buying that palette. But I also feel like $78 is a little bit on the pricier side for one palette. That is why I want to see if I am gonna use this palette even more. Is it worth $78 or not for me? I tried to dupe out this palette and this is how my palette turned out. I'll pop a picture of the original palette on the screen just so that you can see how this came out and am I close to it or not. But we're going to start swatching this baby. I'll tell you which shades I used. Most of this shades, I would say, you can find it in different Beaute Bar palettes too. At least you can come very close to it. I'm not saying that it's going to be exact dupe, and I am also not claiming this to be an exact dupe. I'm just getting the vibes of the color story in a palette. I did use Kryptein Cosmetics palettes too, and a few single shadows also from, I think, Ensley. But I'll also give you some options towards the end of the video, saying like which are the palettes that gave me a vibe of this palette. And we are also going to do this eye look using this palette. So if you're ready, let's begin. First, start with the comparison palettes that I thought of as soon as I saw the color story revealed. I first thought of Beaute Bar Dead Roses palette, and I feel like they are distinct cousins for sure. I was first getting shades out of this palette, and you can get like similar vibes. If you can see, like there are pinks, reds, oranges, purples all in this palette too. The only shade that is not there in this palette is this extreme shade, which I did use this in this palette. But I'll get to it when we are explaining the palette. But you can get the vibes of the palette with the Dead Roses palette. I also feel like if you did have their initial, the Sun and the Sea palette, do you remember? I do have that in my collection. Wait. This palette, do you remember that? This palette has a lot of those like purpley tones and those bluey aqua tones in this palette. So I feel like if you have that Dead Roses palette as well as Beaute Bar Sun and Sea palette, I think you are covered. And especially if you do have like Ocean Jewel palette also. That palette, I don't have it right now. The next palette that came into my mind was Element 115 palette from Adept Cosmetics. Again, of course, you're not getting all the variety, but you can see the similarities. You have those aqua blue shades. You also have those purpley shades, those oranges. So I feel like this is also like distinct cousins. You definitely can get similar vibes out of these palettes too. So definitely wanted to shout out that. If you have the original Lands of Enchantment palette from Ensley Cosmetics, let me show you side by side. Again, you're looking at pinks, purples, blues. Granted, you do not have oranges here, but again, you can see the similarity and the vibes. Now this palette, I don't have a lot of shades from this palette here just because I did use these shades for duping out the palette. And that is the Simply Posh Cosmetics Aurora Lights palette. Again, you will be seeing missing shades here, which I did use in this palette, which the missing shades are the pinks in the palette, the greens in the palette. So do keep that in mind. If you do have the Aurora Lights palette, I feel like you again are getting similar vibes. Now let's start swatching. I feel like those are the palettes that came into my mind as soon as I saw this color story. Now let's watch swatching. I'm going to go row by row just so that I can explain it to you which shades I used. So let's begin. It's a big palette, so we'll take some time. Okay, let's start off with the first row, and this I would call it more like a pinkier row. So first let's swatch everything and then I'll tell you which shades I used. Okay, so that is the first row. And obviously I'll plop the original palette on the screen also for you guys, just so that you have things to refer to. and then explain the shades that I used. The first shade is from Secret Garden 2 palette, and the shade is called 𝒟𝒂, which is a light pale pink shade. The second shade is from the Secret Garden 1 palette, and the shade is called Tulip. It is a pink to a golden shifting shade. Third shade is from the Simply Posh Cosmetics Aurora Lights palette, and the shade is called Bright. It is more of a deeper pink shade. The fourth shade is a single shadow which is called Dark Dreamer from the Ensley Rain Twisted Tea Party palette. It is a mid-tone purple holo-chrome shade, and the fifth shade in the first row is also a single shadow from Ensley Rain Underland collection, and this is called Painting the Roses Red, which is a blackened red shade. So those are the shades in the first row. It's a beautiful, beautiful color story. You can definitely get more like romantic tones, some stunning multi-chromes thrown in here, and a lot of fieriness. Let's move on to the next row. The next shade is from Secret Garden 1 palette, and the shade is called Marigold. It's a beautiful pastel-y orangey yellow shade. The next shade is a single shadow from Ensley Rain Bougie collection, and the shade is called Ghoul on Fire. It's a fiery orangey shade. The next shade is from the Bella Beauty Bar Dead Roses palette, and the shade is called Drop Dead. This is a fiery purple shade. It shifts to purple, pink, orange, a little bit of green. It's beautiful. The next shade is a mid-tone purple shade, matte, and this is from Ensley Rain Twisted Tea Party palette, and the shade is called 𝒟𝒂 Secret. The next shade is from the Kryptein Cosmetics Secret Garden 2 palette, and this is a dark aubergine shade, and the shade is called Dahlia. You can see how beautiful and fiery those shades are, and they're super, super dimensional too. Really, really pretty. Okay, let's move on to the next row. The next row is for the lavendery purpley shades. The first shade is from the Secret Garden 2 palette, and the shade is called 𝒟𝒂. It's a beautiful pastel-y blue-purple shade. The next shade is from the Ensley Rain Twisted Party palette, and this shade is called Mind Melt. It's a beautiful blue-purple-green multi-chrome shade. Very, very pretty, very dimensional. The third shade is from the Simply Posh Cosmetics Aurora Lights palette, and this is a mid-tone purple shade, and this shade is called Swirling. The next shade is also from the Simply Posh Aurora Lights palette, and the shade is called Electric, and this is a blue-purple duochrome shade with a ton of different colored specks running throughout it. And the last shade in this row is from the Bella Beauty Bar Dead Roses palette, and the shade is called You're the Worst, which is a dark purpley eggplant shade. And those are the swatches for the third row. Now let's move on to the last row. It's such a beautiful aqua green kind of a row with twists of purples and gunmetal. First shade is from Ensley Rain Lands of Enchantment palette, and the shade is called Lost World. It's a beautiful pastel-y aqua green shade. The next shade is from the Simply Posh Cosmetics Aurora Lights palette, and the shade is called Surreal, which is a mid-tone aqua shade. The third shade is a single shadow from Ensley Rain Cosmic Dreamer collection, and the shade is called Party in the UFO. We have a very similar shade also in the Lands of Enchantment palette from Ensley Rain, and the shade is called Moon Magic, which is that aqua blue holographic shade. It's really, really pretty. The next shade in the palette is also from the Simply Posh Cosmetics Aurora Lights palette, and the shade is called Brilliant, which is a mid-tone purple shade with a hint of pink in it. And the last shade is a gunmetal sparkly shadow, and this is from the Poison Garden palette from Bella Beauty Bar, and the shade is called Snake Root. So those are the last 5 shades. Really, really pretty. Let me show you all of the palettes swatched so that you can see the entire palette swatched in front of you. Now do let me know if you're still interested in this palette or not. I feel like I came very, very close to the palette, at least for duping the vibes of the palette. I think I'm really, really close, and I am gonna keep this in this format and see how much I'm using this palette and if I'm reaching for this over and over again. For me, I feel like $78 is a huge price. But if that means if they have to low down on the multi-chromes and because of that they're increasing the prices, then I don't mind that, because I don't need like all the multi-chromes in the world. I do have a lot of multi-chromes already in my collection, but I definitely don't want the prices to go over like $70. I can definitely make exceptions once in a while, but because these palettes are coming every time, I think I will wait on a sale if I'm interested in this color story and if I'm using it even more. But that's all for today. Let's move on to creating this eye look using this palette. Let's begin our look with the dupe palette for the dark Dreamscape palette. I am thinking more bluey purpley tones. Let's see how we roll. I'm very excited for this. No matter what, I am going to start off with this shade, and this is a deep dark charcoaly purple, like an eggplant purple. So let's take that and I'm going to apply that in the extreme outer corner of the eye, just right there. It's a very inky indigo kind of shade. So my aim is just to get the most depth there in the outer corner. I'm also going to take that same shade on the extreme outer corner of the lower lash line, just right there. Now I'm going to take this shade to blend the edges out of that deep dark indigo shade, taking a very loose fluffy brush and slowly blending the edges. Doing the same on the lower lash line. And now just wiping my brush, dipping into this shade, doing the same thing, just blowing even further out for that purple. Taking it more lighter right there and then just blowing it out, okay? Just right there. Okay, now moving into a smaller brush into this shade, this blue, just right there, and taking that in the center crease of the eye. This is a pointed brush, so it will help me to just tuck it right there in the internal socket of the crease, okay? Taking that same shade on the inner portion of the lower lash line. Going into this shade, and it's more pastel-y blue. Going into the inner portion right there, okay? You can see the difference between this and that. Okay, now just to blend everything out, I am going to take, let's take this shade, this, and I'm just taking towards the edge of that blue with that pink. Okay, just to flow everything together with that purple. Just right there. Taking that same pink, just right there. Okay, this is going to be a colorful look because it is a colorful palette. Now, time for shimmers. I'm going to start off with this shade. It's a purple multi-chrome. It's a purple holo-chrome shade. And I'm going to take that in the extreme outer corner and melting it with that deep dark purple shade that we have right there. Keeping it right on the edge, okay? And keeping it more in the diagonal way. Now for the inner portion of the eyelid, I am going to take, let's take this shade. And I'm going to melt it down with that other purple. It has, this purple definitely has that fieriness, like that orangey, pinky shift that is going with it. So I'm going to just take it right there. Can you see that? So pretty. Okay. Just going to keep it right there. Now for the inner portion of the eyelid, I am gonna take, we can either take this or this. Let's take this actually. It's a very sparkly iridescent kind of shade. I'm gonna place that right there in the swoop and then melt it with the other shade right there, and also in the inner corner. That's all that we are looking for this eye look. I was just going with majority of the shades on this eye, hence the colorful peacock look. But that's all. Let me finish off this eye with some liner and mascara, and I'll come right back to show you my final look. And there you go. That is my final eye look. I love how it turned out. It's definitely vibrant, colorful. This palette is for colorful wearer. But if your color story is more into pinks, purples, blues, I think you'll absolutely love it. I do not doubt Bella Beauty Bar's formula at all. It's just a matter of how much are you gonna wear this color story in your everyday life. I feel like if you like this color story, you're gonna absolutely love it. I love that it is purple heavy, but am I gonna reach out for this palette over and over again? That is why I tend to dupe out these kind of palettes, especially in this realm of era. We cannot buy every single palette that is releasing in the market. So that is my way of combating. If I'm going to reach out for this palette even more, then I'll definitely give it a try. But if I'm not reaching out for this kind of color story, even after like getting this, like if I don't see this as a revamp palette, and if I am thinking this is dark dream space, how much am I reaching out for it? That is what will make me understand if I really need that palette or not in my life. But I'll continue playing with it and I'll let you guys know if I did purchase this palette or not. But that's all for today. Are you interested in getting dark dream space in your collection or not? Sound it down in the comment section below. If you are trying to buy it, I do have a code with Bella Beauty Bar. My code is SMITHYSONY to save you 10% off. And I do not doubt the quality of Bella Beauty Bar one bit. If this is your color story, I am very happy for you. But that's all for today. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.